The temple roster in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of the most stacked lineups of temples I've ever seen in a Zelda game. Now while I'm more of a Majora's Mask guy myself, I can't deny that overall the temples in Ocarina of Time are way better than Majora's Mask. It also has so many different ones and even a whole lot of mini dungeons as well. One of the temples that I think gets overlooked when the topic of Ocarina of Time temples gets brought up is the Fire Temple found inside Death Mountain. Every temple in this game is talked about in some way, shape, or form, whether it be the dark depths of the Shadow Temple, the absolutely iconic Forest Temple, or the Water Temple. Now, does this mean the Fire Temple is bad? Well, considering everyone talks about the Water Temple and they all hate it, I'm just gonna go with no. The crazy thing is, I actually really like the Water Temple, but you're gonna have to wait till next week before you get to hear me talk about that. Instead, today we'll be looking at what I consider to be the most underrated temple in the game, the Fire Temple. If you're new to the Temple by Temple series here on the Jikbean YouTube channel, then let me go ahead and break it down for you. I'll talk about the entire lead up to the temple alongside everything inside that I find important to talk about. At the end of the temple, I'll give it a grade from F to S. Gold Skulltula placements also won't affect the temple's grade that much since I've never 100%ed Ocarina of Time. That covers everything, so without any further ado, let's get right into the analysis and grading of Ocarina of Time's Fire Temple. With the Forest Temple complete, we can start making our way towards Goron City. I didn't talk about it too much in the Forest Temple analysis, but Kakariko Village has actually changed a whole lot. After Hyrule Castle and Market fell, most of the residents made their way to Kakariko Village. The place is absolutely crowded with people, and the building that was being built 7 years ago has now finished. It turns out it's a shooting range, and using our newly acquired fairy bow, we can get an upgraded quiver if we hit all the targets. Other than that though, there's not much we can do here right now. The way up to Goron City is pretty much exactly the same as it was before, so nothing to talk about here. Inside Goron City though, there's nobody to be found. What was once a lively area is now so deserted. Oh wait, there is a little guy here. I guess it's not completely deserted. Well, there's only one civil way I can think of to talk to this guy, and that's by throwing a bomb at him. You know, that was just the only reasonable approach I could think of. When you bomb the child, he'll get defensive and say you'll feel the wrath of Jikbean, which also turns out is this little guy's name. Turns out he's the son of the Goron leader Darunia, who we helped 7 years ago clear out Dodongo's cavern. According to this fake Jikbean, all of the Gorons were taken to the Fire Temple by Ganondorf's henchmen. Darunia went to go save the other Gorons, but little Jikboy is worried that he'll get eaten by the dragon that lives in the Fire Temple, Volvagia. To convince the real Jikbean even more, the Mini Bean gives us the Goron Tunic, which helps us stay in super hot environments as long as we need. He's also nice enough to open up all the doors in Goron City. You know, I think the first thing I'm gonna say to Darunia is how honored I am to have such a strapping young Goron be named after me. In order to get to the Fire Temple though, we'll need to get inside of Death Mountain. There's actually a super nice shortcut we can take that's weirdly sitting behind Darunia's throne. This right here is the Death Mountain crater, and man, it is toasty in here. Using our hookshot, we can get right in front of the Fire Temple, and just like last time, Sheik shows up to teach us a song. This time around, we get taught the Bolero of Fire, which is probably my favorite piece of music Sheik teaches you. I get vibes of unity from this song, which reminds me of Link's friendship with Darunia. After Sheik disappears, we can go down this pretty long ladder and enter the Fire Temple. As always, before getting to the actual temple, we have got to talk about the Fire Temple music. Now, one of the more well-known facts about Ocarina of Time is that the Fire Temple had a different theme in its original release. First though, let's analyze the normal theme we've always known. Of course, one of the biggest parts of the Goron culture is the presence of percussion and themes related to the tribe. The Fire Temple is no different, as the song starts with a soft tambourine beat with pop-ins from chimes. There's also a wind-like sound effect in the background to make sure there's always something going on. Now, both versions of the theme have these elements, however in the original version of the theme there were multiple bits of chanting. It starts out pretty light and feels so unsettling, but it gets even worse as it continues to grow. A lot of people like to think this is the Gorons praying not to be eaten by Volvagia as they're locked in their cages. I can definitely see this being the reason it was put there, but with how uncomfortable it makes me feel, Koji Kondo might have just wanted to make the Fire Temple more frightening. In the version that 99% of players originally heard, the chanting is replaced with a low moaning and some ethereal noise. Yeah, these bits don't really reflect what's going on in the Fire Temple at all, and feels more at home in the Shadow Temple. Oh wait, maybe that's because these elements are pretty much ripped from that temple. I still like the theme though, and personally I prefer the original just because I feel like it fits the area a whole lot more. Still though, I'm sure you guys don't want to hear the chanting version, so you'll just have to listen to the more boring version. As you enter the Fire Temple, there's some sort of shrine immediately seen with these things that look like they belong in Squidward's Tiki Land. There's also 2 doors in here, with only one of them being unlocked. Through that door, we can come across our sworn brother Darunia. He tells Link that Ganondorf has revived the evil ancient dragon Volvagia and that he's gonna feed the Gorons to him. Darunia ain't even scared, though he doesn't have the legendary hammer, and asks Link to free the Gorons while he deals with Volvagia before leaving to face his inevitable doom. One question I do have though is, how did this dude enter into the boss arena without a boss key? I'm assuming that there's only one boss door key, so how in the world did he just go through that door? Anyways, on the left side of the room there's a switch that frees one of the Gorons. I couldn't tell you why Darunia just decided to leave this one in his cage, but I'm sure he had his reasons. After freeing a Goron, they'll give you a super useful tip. This one right here tells us that we need to find a room above this one and send the pillar in the ceiling crashing back down. They also just walk away with such swagger. Oh yeah, and in each of the cages there's a small key, which is always super fun to get. With this key, we can head through the other door that was found in the first room. This next door just highlights how much bigger the Fire Temple is compared to the Forest Temple. While the Forest Temple had one big room and a bunch of other smaller rooms, the Fire Temple is filled with these large-scale rooms. With so much space, that means more things to do, and if we head to the left, there's a time block we can move with the Song of Time. Before that though, we can head through this door and go free another Goron. This time, the Goron tip is that walls that can be blown up by the Goron's special crop will sound different when hit by her sword. I don't know how this guy figured that one out, but hey, thanks for the tip, bucko. Oh, and the small key too, that was very kind of you. Back outside that room, we can play the Song of Time and climb up where there's a door. This room has a gold skulltula in it, but in our way are some floor tiles that have minds of their own and a like-like. I've never really understand why they're called like-likes, that's just a stupid name to me. We can then head over to the right side of the room where there's a very suspicious looking wall that we can blow up to reveal a door. This is a super great tutorial to the fake walls that you'll find all throughout the temple. The door then leads to another caged Goron who tells us that there are switches that we can trigger using bombs. And of course we get yet another small key. That's about everything in this room, so we can continue on going through this door. In here is a giant fire geyser and some walls that we can climb up. Using the walls, we can climb up to a platform where there's a movable block and send it down on top of the geyser. If we stand on the block, we'll get shot up into the air and be placed right in front of a locked door. This next room has honestly always been one of my favorites. After climbing up a few of these ledges and taking out some torch slugs, we come across a movable block and a switch. When you move the block into its place, you can then use the block to climb up even higher, but get stopped by a ring of fire. In order to get rid of it and climb higher, you have to hit the switch that was next to the block. However, hitting it with your sword doesn't give you enough time to continue climbing. Instead, we have to put the tip the last Goron gave us and place a bomb in the right spot, giving us enough time to pass through the ring of fire. Climbing up the wall, we can find yet another door and enter another one of my favorite rooms of the temple. While most of the temple has your normal 3D Zelda camera, this room has things from a top-down perspective with a bunch of boulders rolling around. I don't really understand the physics here, but I'll let this one slide. There's even a secret bombable wall in here containing a gold skulltula and even a door which leads to another caged Goron. He gives us a tip on how to stop ourselves from burning, and we take the small key sitting right behind him. Back in the boulder room, we can find yet another caged Goron, and his tip this time around is that there are doors that fall down when you try to open them. A little bit of a weird tip, but thanks for the small key, big guy. That's everything on the first floor in this room, so on through this door we go to what's probably the hardest room of the temple. As you can tell, the pathway is very narrow, and if you fall, you'll be sent a long way backwards. While you try not to fall, there are two doors, one being locked and the other being opened using an eye switch. Behind the eye switch door is a big chest containing the dungeon map. It honestly feels pretty late to be getting the dungeon map, but at least we have it now. Through the other locked door, everything seems normal at first, but out of nowhere some firewall starts chasing after you. It's pretty fun climbing and jumping to avoid the fire, and eventually we reach a door taking us to a higher elevation in the boulder room. Immediately in front of us there's a cracked floor, and when bombed takes us back to the Goron we couldn't free earlier. After getting the small key, we get yet another Goron tip. He tells us that there's some dancing creature in the temple that can't be damaged by arrows, and instead you should use the Goron special crop. I've always found it funny that you don't actually have to talk to these Gorons at all. You could just leave them there if you felt like being a cold, heartless person that day. If we head back up to the boulder room, we can free yet another Goron by jumping between these platforms. This little chap's secret tip is that if you see a location on your map you can't reach, try playing your ocarina. This is somehow the most vague tip because do you know how many songs there are in this game? Don't worry, I counted, there's 13. Also, where does this dude walk off to? Does he not know there's nothing for him to walk on? We now have to head back to the room where we got chased by a firewall. There's actually a locked door on this stupidly high platform and it doesn't look like you can reach it at all. Really though, tell me this doesn't look impossible to reach with a simple jump. The door takes us through a hallway and on the other side is yet another big room. Let's start on the left side, which has a bunch of firewalls that suddenly appear. We can then go through a locked door, but unfortunately there isn't much we can do in here right now. Sorry little Goron buddy, I'll be back for ya. I guess it's on to the right side of the room where there's even more quickly appearing firewalls. There is this one big firewall though that can be dropped by stepping on this switch. You do have a short amount of time to pass through though, so you gotta be quick. Now don't be fooled, because this door right here is one of them fake doors that we got told about earlier. If we bomb it though, the real door becomes visible and we can enter it to fight a mini-boss. This fella right here is called a Flare Dancer, and he's an alright mini-boss. We need to hookshot his actual body, and then while he's running around we can attack him in all sorts of different ways. After enough slashing with your sword, he'll blow up, allowing us to take a platform up into a new area. Through this door, we enter a room where we have to use a bomb on a switch in order for a fire ring to disappear. After a bit of a climb, we enter a spiral type room, and very quickly we'll find a switch that allows a chest to be opened. First though, we have to get to said chest, and there's a quick way or the safe way. The safe way is just taking the path like normal, but if you want to be an epic speedrunner, you just walk across the wall. It's not nearly as risky as it seems, and once you reach the chest, we finally get the dungeon item, the Megaton Hammer. The Megaton Hammer is easily one of the most fun to use items in Ocarina of Time. You feel so powerful with it, and it takes care of enemies pretty good. The other use it has is being able to move all sorts of platforms out of the way. If we head back to the beginning of this room, there's a platform we can hit and enter a new room where there's even more things to hit. Most of the things that we can move with the Megaton Hammer have some sort of symbol like this, making it easy to figure out what you can and can't hit. After getting rid of this totem pole looking thing, we can enter a door and find another one of these symbols that when hit makes some steps appear. Down the stairs is a little switch, and using these boxes that are just sitting here for some reason, we can unlock another door. The next room is tiny, but has another one of those symbols to hit on the floor, and hitting it opens up a hole, taking us back to this room that I never gave a name. Now with the Megaton Hammer in hand, we can hit these specific switches, which can only be pressed down by hitting them with the Megaton Hammer. That switch opens up the door to the upper floor of the room with the Goron we couldn't save earlier. We can play the Song of Time to spawn in a block of time and jump on over to the other side where we can hit a switch with our hammer and free the Goron. The tip this time around is that there's a hidden door at the entrance of the temple, but bombs won't work on it, and instead we should use something stronger. Luckily for us, we just recently got something pretty strong, and of course we have to get our patented small key. Before we move on though, you can get the compass in this big room, but I didn't because I didn't need it. Only idiots need compasses, and only idiots pronounce compass like compass. I'm sure by now you've noticed this giant pillar in the room, which just so happens to have a certain symbol on it. If we hit it, we get taken all the way back to the room where we saw Darunia. We need to head back to the very first room though, where there's a totem pole that we can destroy with the Megaton Hammer. If we take out the right totem pole, there's a locked door that we can use our small key on. There's all sorts of varying fire type enemies here, and after you take them all out, you can continue onwards. The next room is almost a carbon copy of the Gold Skulltula room all the way at the start of this temple, even down to having another Gold Skulltula inside. Through the next door is yet another Flare Dancer as you fight him the exact same way as before. That is a slight problem I have with Zelda temples in general. I feel like most of the time Zelda games just like to repeat mini-bosses instead of having something completely different. Anyways, once the Flare Dancer is down, a chest spawns in, giving us some bombs. The next door finally leads us to a caged Goron who we can let out by using the Megaton Hammer. This time around, he doesn't give us a tip, and instead he just pleads with Link to save Darunia before leaving to go back to Goron City. Also this time, instead of a small key, we open up the super colorful chest to get the boss key. With the boss key now in our possession, we can head back to where Darunia used to be and enter the boss room. As we jump onto this rocky platform, the room begins to shake and there becomes no way to escape. Out of one of the many openings of fire, the boss of the fire temple, Volvagia, pops out. Now while you might have been expecting a bigger dragon, don't underestimate Volvagia because he can be a menace sometimes. While I would love to say that Volvagia is an awesome boss to end off the temple, I unfortunately can't. Volvagia will pop out of one of these little gopher holes, and that's when you can hit him with the Megaton Hammer twice and then repeat the process. Basically you're just playing whack-a-mole with the boss, which is slightly disappointing with how much build-up there actually is to him. And I think it's pretty cool that we get the alternate boss theme, which was the same boss theme used in Dodongo's Cavern. I wish we got to hear the alternate theme a lot more because personally I think it sounds a lot better. Oh yeah, and Volvagia is also a pretty long fight too, which can be fun, but not in this case. During his phase 2, he'll start to rain boulders down from the sky on Link. These can also be pretty annoying to deal with, and he even starts to hit you with pump fakes. In the later portions of the fight, he'll act like he's gonna appear in one place, but then he'll go to another. All in all, Volvagia is just a fine final boss fight to the Fire Temple that I wish was a lot more epic in scale. After we finally beat Volvagia, we can grab our heart container and go on over to the Chamber of Sages. Before we get a look inside there though, we get to watch the volcano erupt, and man, I don't know how Kakariko Village isn't burning. In the Chamber of Sages, we get to meet the Fire Sage being Darunia. He gives his thanks to Link for helping him save the Gorons and says that he's never been happier helping Link destroy evil. Then he gives us some of his power with the Fire Medallion as we're transported back outside. Before I grade the temple though, there is just one thing after the temple I'd like to talk about. Using the Megaton hammer, we can destroy these 2 rocks and enter into a fairy fountain. Just like before, we can play Zelda's Lullaby and meet this great fairy. She's kind enough to increase our magic bar, making it double its original size. This is such a nice thing to have and lets us use things like the Lens of Truth even longer. Now on to the grading of the Fire Temple. I do think this temple is by far the most underrated in the game. It's definitely got its fair share of problems, but the experience overall is solid. I think the thing that can move this temple up to an even higher placement would be having better boss design. The flare dancers aren't the most fun thing in the world, and Volvagia kinda feels like a letdown. Still though, I love going through the Fire Temple and I'm gonna give it a grade of A. There's definitely things that I would change about the temple, but it's still really good. It doesn't have anything on the Forest Temple and I still think it would be on the lower end of A tier on a tier list. Even with that though, the Fire Temple from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is still a great temple that really needs to be talked about more. Well, there you go, there's my analysis and grading of the Fire Temple from Ocarina of Time. I really do like this temple a lot, and I want to show it the love and appreciation it deserves. Next week we'll be taking a look at everyone's favorite, the Water Temple, alongside the Ice Cavern. I'll also go over the Bigoron Sword side quest in it too, because I feel like it. Next week's analysis is definitely going to be a longer one, and I'm excited for it. Also, if you didn't check out last week's analysis and grading of the Forest Temple, please check it out. It's a great video, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch it. Once I'm done with this little series, you'll be getting one big video combining the Adult Temple analysis videos and the Child Temple analysis videos. I'm even considering remaking the Child part just for the video, so if that's something that might interest you, let me know down in the comments below. Also, while you're down there, you should hit that big red button and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the absolute world to me because I love doing videos and I'd love to continue to grow this channel. Also, last week I did say that after this series we would be taking a break, doing some Resident Evil videos, and then going on to the Wind Waker stuff, but I lied. I'm sorry. I looked at my schedule wrong, and the Wind Waker stuff is actually pushed back a little further because I want to do some Mario stuff in preparation for the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which I'm really excited for, so I hope that's okay with you guys. That's going to do it for me, though. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be seeing ya.